Hey guys, how's it going? Got me in my plain white tee today. It was a Sunday. I did not feel like changing. Anyway, today we're building a build. It's going to be somebody's first build, so it's pretty exciting. So I'm kind of happy they chose us and gave us the opportunity to build for them the first time. Hey girl, come on. So I'll just run through the build list and we'll get started. I do have a customer that's going to come pick up the Cyber Power PC behind me midstream here sometime very shortly. So we will have to get him checked out the door. He brought that Cyber Power PC in because it was having some issues with fans, and every time he said his kid would just touch the table, it would shut off on them. Ended up just being a loose connection on the back because it was a cheap power supply. So we took care of that, got it squared away. But overall, just for awareness, we're going to have to get him checked out when he arrives. Local customer. Alright, so today's build, we're going to be doing an Intel i5. This is a 10th generation. And just to keep in mind, this is a $630 budget. So for everything we got for $630 is pretty good. Pretty good budget. It's probably the best bang you can get for $630. I don't think we could do any better than this. And if you guys disagree, feel free to let me know. But we did an Intel i5-10400F. So it's got 6 cores, 12 threads. So it's plenty of CPU power here for gaming, especially 1080p gaming, which is what we were targeting. We're going to be using a ID Cooling SE214XT tower air cooler with a 120mm fan, and also a 4 heat pipe cooler. So it's got 4 copper heat pipes on there. It's going to really help with pulling the heat away from the CPU and getting it sucked out of the case with the airflow from the case itself. So it's a great cooler for this option, especially for the budget. Asus Tough Gaming B560M. So I try to avoid using Prime motherboards and Pro Series motherboards the best I can. I try to stay, because this is a gaming PC. This is probably about the same price as the CPU itself, but it gives him much more upgradability. So his upgrades are much more available on this board than we were maybe on a Prime board, plus the VRMs on this board are much better. So if he wanted to put an i9 in here eventually, he could do so. And the motherboard would not have a problem, especially the VRMs would be great. So I try to stick with at least the Tough Gaming motherboards, which I love, by the way. They're great budget boards for gaming PCs. And when I say budget, that's comparing this to an ROG Strix board. This board is a lot cheaper, but it has pretty much all the same features without the ROG Strix tax. So it's pretty much the same board. Hey, Agru, over on YouTube, let's go. Yo, what's up? Pizza, the dude, my dude. Yo, what's up? Thanks for stopping in, guys. I appreciate you. You kind of caught me with my white t-shirt on today, so weird that I'm wearing white instead of black. Trying to throw some flavor in here, right? But no, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm technically not supposed to be working, but it's been so busy, I've got no choice. I was supposed to do this build stream yesterday, but I had so much foot traffic in and out yesterday that I had to reschedule it to today. So here we are. And then today I was supposed to do a build marathon where I had 4 PCs to build, but now we're going to delay that until probably next week. And those are just all inventory builds. They're not customer builds. Hey, thanks for doing this for my son. Hey, no problem. No problem. We're doing it. I hope you don't mind the white t-shirt. Just a plain white tee. By the way, I love that band. That's what I grew up on. So anyway, we're just running through the parts list. It's the Intel i5, the B560M, Asus Tough Gaming motherboard, and the ID Cooling Tower air cooler that you see me build with a lot. We're going to be throwing 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM. This is the Silicon Zenith RAM kit. So it is addressable RGB, and it is silicone power is the brand name. You can get these for like $45–50 on Amazon right now, which is a really good deal for 16 gig set at 3200 megahertz and addressable RGB on it. So I like silicon power. You see me use it a lot. But then you also have the 1 terabyte M.2 silicon power NVMe M.2 drive. So he's got 1 terabyte of storage in this build. So it gives him plenty of storage to install Call of Duty, Warzone, any of those games, big titles. He'll have plenty of storage to do so. The graphics card we're using is a Zotac GeForce GTX 1660. This is a 6 gigabyte graphics card. It's GDDR6 at 192 bits. So 1080p gaming. It'll definitely do its job and give it plenty of performance, especially for things like Fortnite and Warzone. It's a great card to start with, and then you can always upgrade later. Talking about upgrades, we went with a 750 watt bronze power supply so that we could do upgrades easily later. So if he wanted to go up to like a RTX 3060, 3070, 3060 Ti, he could do so with this power supply. That's already in the system, and it makes the upgrade even easier. So all you got to do is swap the card out at that point. So he could upgrade in the future. Really, the only limiting factor in this entire build is the case itself being a micro ATX form factor, which is smaller. So once you start getting into bigger cards, then it's a problem. But I mean, at that point, when you're spending that kind of money, doing that type of upgrade, you could throw another $100 at a case. So the ID cooling fans here are what we're going to be using. So we're going to use 2 in the front, 1 in the rear, and those are 120 millimeter PWM addressable RGB fans, which is going to be software controlled or motherboard controlled using the motherboard. So that's the build out right here. This case, by the way, is a Silverstone Clara H1M. So this case I like because of the front mesh. Here, I can move some of these parts, kind of give you a better look at the case itself. But this case is a really nice case for the budget because it's got a honeycomb front, mesh front to it, so it allows really good airflow into the case. It's really easy to clean and maintain because the whole front panel just pops right off here. It does have an extra dust filter. I'm probably going to remove this because this actually will restrict airflow more than anything. It will help with collecting a little bit of the dust, but in my opinion, the dust is going to get in there anyway. If it makes it through this mesh, it's going to get in there anyway. So this will be our dust filter. I'm probably going to remove that magnetic dust filter, but it's really easy to maintain and clean. So you just take that off, clean it as needed. And then same thing with the top. It's got a dust filter, though we don't have any fans pushing air out. It's really going to just be there at this point. It's not going to do much. The back side, we have a 120 millimeter fan already installed, but we're going to remove that. Might just throw it here at the top just to give it some extra cooling, although these cheap fans that come with the cases are not hydraulic bearings, and so for when you have them sitting at the top of the case, the gravity pulls on them and eventually the bearings wear out and they start making noise really fast, faster than they would be vertical. So we might end up just leaving that fan out because it's cheap. Alright, just give me a minute, guys. All right, sorry about that. We just had to get them checked out. But we're back. Sorry about that delay. I just had to get the customer checked out. They wanted to pick up today, and I don't care. If I'm here, it's cool, right? All right, so let's go ahead and turn this music down a little bit so we can talk, and let's go ahead and get started. I know we were kind of talking about this case here, but for the most part, we covered the basics of it. I'm gonna move this out of the way, and then we can go ahead and get started with the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, and the cooler. And we're going to switch to a top-down view. Let's get our top-down. Let's switch to this one. This one's a little bit better. That's better. All right, so for the most part, we're just going to get the CPU installed, SSD, and the RAM. Get started here. That's what I meant by the foot traffic. It was like that just all day yesterday. People showing up. No problem. It's just got really busy. Didn't anticipate it. My daughter giving us music from Disney. Hi. Oh no. Actually, do you want that? I'll give you the next one. Alright, so we got our CPU installed. I'm just going to move on to our SSD. Here you go. I'm going to actually put it in this bottom slot here, because if I fill out this slot, if he upgrades to an 11th generation processor, he'll have access to Gen 4, and he'll need that slot for it. So rather than having it in the way, we'll have it here. The graphics card will actually help passively cool it as well. So that's cool. We'll put it right here. Next, we're going to do the RAM. And this is again 16 gigabytes, 3200 megahertz. This is by Silicon Power. Budget friendly. But it has addressable RGB on it. Packaging is just a pain in the butt, so I'm just going to cut through it. Just don't cut through your RAM if you have powerful scissors. But rather than trying to deal with this packaging and open it properly, I'm just cutting through it. There's nothing in that package outside of that anyway. Thank you. We're going to put both in A2 and B2 slots here on the motherboard. There we go. We got our 16 gigabytes of RAM installed, and we've got a 1 terabyte M.2 installed, and our i5 installed. Next, we're going to go with the cooler. This is our tower air cooler with 4 heat pipes and a 120 millimeter fan. My son's really excited. Awesome. Thank you for doing this on a Sunday. Oh, no worries. No problem at all. What I have to do to catch up this week that I'm caught up for next week. No worries at all. Mr. Max, behind me, the dog. He's playing with his ball. Alright, so we've got the back plate added to the motherboard, and now we're just going to add the spacers here, or supports, whatever you want to call these things. And then we just have these two brackets we need to install. I believe need to be like so. Wanted to make sure they were inwards, not outwards. Then there's 4 screws that hold these brackets in. Hey Metal Spring, what's up? Heyo, how are you doing today? I'm doing good. Just playing catch up. This is a build I was supposed to stream yesterday. I had a lot of foot traffic, so couldn't get away to do it, fortunately. What are you doing, man? Going. Also got a build marathon coming up and a couple of other cool things. We're using Thermal Grizzly as our thermal paste as usual. I'm doing pretty good, starting a new job next week. Nervous, but excited for the change. Hell yeah. Same industry or something new? Going outside of the box. Mortgage industry. Ooh. I'm over the restaurant. Yeah. I hear you, man. I did IT in the hospitality industry, and that was probably the worst IT position I've ever worked. It's actually worse than medical. So I hear you. I understand the high demand, low margins, call it. CPU fan is... I get it. I don't blame you for wanting to get out of that. But it's made for some people, like some people like it. But it wasn't for me. Now we're mounting this 120mm fan that is pushing air through the fins of the cooler. Cool. Level. There we go. There's our B560M with our i5 10400F, 1TB M.2, 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz addressable RGB RAM. And we got a couple of cables hanging off here, but that's going to be tucked away back behind the case, so it's going to look nice and clean when we get to that point. Talking about that, time to actually get that piece whipped over here. To start, I'm actually going to just remove this rear fan. Just straight up remove it. We're not going to use it. Came with the case, it's cheap. Bearings won't last as long as the other fan bearings, and then it'll start making weird noises. And it's such a cheap fan. You know, it's gonna go into the trash can pretty much, unless somebody needs it for free. Like desperate for a fan. There we go. Remove the side panel. That'll give us access to the nuts and bolts for the hardware for the case itself. Oh, I bet. I'll have to head to Pontiac in the long run. Worth it, in my opinion. Very nice looking. Thanks, man. But yeah, Pontiac's a little bit far for you. A little bit of a drive. Are you planning to like move over this way if it's a good gig? Cool. Nika or Neoa? What GPU? It's a GTX 1660. So we had a total of $630 for our budget, and we got a Intel i5 10500 or 10400 and a GTX 1660 with 16 gigs of RAM, 3200 megahertz DDR4, a tower air cooler by ID Cooling, and a 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe by Silicon Power. So on a B560M Tough Gaming motherboard with a 750 watt addressable RGB, or 750 watt, sorry, bronze certified power supply and 3 120 millimeter PWM addressable RGB fans for the case. Really can't beat that for 650 bucks. It's going to be a great 1080p machine. We had a tight budget for this one, so couldn't really go too crazy. They wanted to watch it built, so we're building it live here on the stream. It's also their first PC. It's a great, I think it's a great option to start with. You got plenty of storage, you got plenty of RAM, you got 6 cores, 12 threads. I mean, oh, I upgraded from the 1650 to an AMD Radeon 6600 today. Nice. That's definitely an upgrade. That 1660 or that 6600 RX 6600 is actually gonna deliver a lot more performance than that 1650. Metal spring, it depends. Heck, yeah, a great starter. Yeah, man, it might be worth looking into. Little like the price of gas right now. To do the math and check that, I'd be curious. All right, just adding the studs here that we can mount our motherboard. Then we can move on to throwing the fans in here. Getting our front panel connected. Heck yeah, great starter. Yes, thank you. And it all can be upgraded in time, right? Yes, for sure, man. A lot of people, and that's why the RX 6600 is so cheap, they don't like the Radeon cards, especially the budget Radeon cards. And that's, the 6600 is actually not a bad card. It is a great 1080p card that delivers some really good performance. The downside is you don't have the NVEC decoder for streaming. So if you're streaming, then you definitely want to go with like a 1660 Super and up. You have the decoder from NVIDIA. I think AMD has its own version, but it's not as good. But for the most part, yes, everything can be upgraded over time. That is the whole point. Yeah, that 1650 probably was delivering barely 60 frames on games, right? The 1650 is showing its age. I try to avoid that card at all times. I would rather go with an RX 6500 XT on PCIe 4 than try to go to a GTX 1650 these days. The 6500 XT can actually outperform that 1650 in PCIe 4 by a lot, and it's about the same price right now. So you just got to make sure you're running PCIe 4. To run the card, the 6500 on PCIe 3, it definitely takes a hit in performance. Because if it's 64-bit bus lane, well, alright, there we go. Got our motherboard installed. Now we can install our 2 fans in the front, our 1 fan in the rear, so we're going to have good intake and some exhaust. Then we'll be passively exhausting through the top. This will help push that cool air in and hot air out. And we're sticking with the same brand as the cooler for the fans. So it's going to look all the same across the build itself. So the aesthetics will look nice and clean. We're going with the ID Cooling XF 12025, so it's 120 millimeter, 25 millimeter fan. Addressable RGB Trico. These are PWM fans. I think you get these 3 in a kit for like 30 bucks, which is a really good deal because it also comes with all the screws you need, as well as an addressable RGB splitter and a PWM splitter for the fans. So you have everything you need for this kit. Plug in and mount. You're not missing screws, you're not missing a cable, and it's 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB, which goes to your motherboard. It's simple. Let's see here. It would cost about 160, 180 a month for gas. I mean, if you could target something around that, you know, like a studio or something that you're sharing with somebody established over here, that'd be cool. I know that's probably wishful thinking, but might be beneficial. But then I guess there is other costs. So, I don't know. It would have to be worth it. Desmon, yes, Desmon all could be upgraded. Okay. What mini ITX case do I recommend? I overclocked the RAM on it. On the 6600, overclocked it. What ITX case do I recommend? I mean, honestly, I've really liked the height mini ITX cases. They're kind of cool. NZXT has a cool one that's like a rectangle. Kind of looks like an Xbox One in a way, but those actually have really good cooling on them because the card just draws right from the outside and it exhausts. Thermaltake has a pretty good one. There's a couple of good ones out there. Personally, I don't like building in ITX cases unless it's requested or demanded that we do that. But it's pretty rare that I do. Just because usually when I'm building with the upgrade in mind, and you can't really upgrade much with an ITX build. An ITX build is built for a specific reason. Like you are putting it in a very tight place, or that person specifically wants an ITX build. So, and it's not really meant to be upgraded unless you're just swapping out a card or a CPU. That's the idea around it. You can upgrade it, it's just not the best option, most cost-effective upgrade option. So, pretty rare that I go to an ITX case, unless it's requested. What did you mean by you overclocked the RAM on it? The 6600? Just use the Adrenaline software from AMD? Right now I'm just putting in the rear 120mm fan by ID Cooling. Getting that mounted. These are our 2 additional fans for the front. Oh, she had it, I love the H5 Flow. No, not the GPU, just the RAM itself. Okay. Did you just use the XMP profile for the RAM, or did you actually go through and tinker with it? The NZXT H5 Flow is a great ATX mid-tower, though the NZXT what is it? The H9 Flow right now is in high demand. actually have one here, but it's already sold. They're impossible to find anywhere. What we're going to do is run these cables up here so they stay hidden behind the fan. I'll just stick out like a sore thumb. And we're going to mount it on the inside of the case so that there's plenty of room between here and the mesh so it can draw air, not have any negative feedback being too close to the mesh. It would draw, but I think it draws more air if it's further away from the mesh. But it's going to be a solid build. Super excited to finish this one for them. So probably my favorite part of every PC build is when they come and pick it up, or I deliver it and I see the reaction, or I get a reaction in chat, or I get a reaction on phone or on the next call that we have. It's always great. Probably my favorite part of every build. The reaction when they power on their build for the first time. Priceless. Here we go. Getting the last couple of fans installed here on the front for intake. We'll flip this kind of around and send some of the cables on the back side through. Actually, let's take care of these really quick. Our PWM connections and our RGB connections for the 3 fans. We're going to get these plugged in down here. Then we're going to send them to the back. And our adjustable RGB chain connection. Daisy chain. 3-pin, 5-volt, adjustable RGB connector. Great for the motherboard. That's going to be for the 3 fans here. Our CPU fans plugged in up here, very top. That makes it so we can control these 3 and this one separately, if we wanted to, from the motherboard. Run 2 different cutters, unless I think this board should be able to let you split it. There's that. And now we'll flip it around. We have USB-C, USB 3 up here, and the rest is down where it should be. These connections here are what we're going to work with next. These. Our front panel connection. So our power button, reset button, HDD LED, and our power LED connections. We're going to shove through this bottom hole down here. I know that's down here on the motherboard right here. Our USB 3.0 connection to the top of the case. We know that's right here on the motherboard. And then our USB 2.0 headers. We know that's down here. And then our HD audio connection. We know that goes down here. We'll flip this around and get these plugged in. Again, USB 3.0 from the top. And then our power switch, reset switch, HD LED. These are always probably the most difficult for people first time building. It's like, I don't know which pins these go to. Well, most of the time they're painted right onto the motherboard or printed right onto the motherboard. And if they're not, you can pull up your motherboard manual, reference it, and we'll tell you exactly how it is. Also, it's almost the same on every single motherboard there is now today. So the pin layout is pretty much the same. Starting to notice cases come out with these being a single connection now. For example, Leon Lee does it. Fantex has done it. I think NZXT does it. So this will become a more simple process as cases become a little bit more modern. They've accepted the fact that these pin layouts don't change, finally. But the reason why they had to keep these separated is because on older motherboards, pin layouts weren't the same. Sometimes they were spaced. For example, the power button. But I've been building long enough to know exactly which pin is which on the JFP1. Alright, so now we're going to do the USB connection. This is USB 2.0. We've got, looks like 2 headers here on the motherboard. I'm just going to use the one closest to the hole for cosmetics. So it can go straight down into that hole. Out of the way. Then we'll have our HD audio connection. Again, you can really only plug this one way. Can't really mess it up. There's a notched pin. Gotta make sure it's lined up correctly and push it in. All set. We got all our cables plugged in. Easy peasy. Pizza dude, nice. Nice. So anyway, probably ready to slap the graphics card in here, I'd say. We're moving pretty dang quick. I guess one thing I would have called out on this case is make sure you pop these metal plates on the case before you mount that motherboard. Now I gotta fight it. I can wiggle it out without touching the board. This is one thing I'd love to see more case manufacturers do. Instead of saving the pennies here, put in the little bracket. For the love of God. I don't know why we're still using punch outs. Punch outs were so 10 years ago. This is our GTX 1660. By Zotac Gaming. Alright, ready to flip this bad boy over. And we can actually take advantage of this moment while we have it flipped over to get some of the fan connections completed. We're going to need 1, 2, 3 of these. This is our PWM, I'm sorry, our adjustable RGB 3-pin 5-volt connections for our fan. They're just going to daisy chain off of each other here. We'll clean up these cables a little bit later after we get the power supply installed. Then we just have 3 PWM connections here. goes and daisy chains off of this bad boy. There we go. Those are all our connections are done. The only thing we have left to do is the power supply, which we have here. 750 watt, bronze certified, semi-modular. Can't beat the price right now. With the price of power supplies continuing to go up, it's kind of a pain in the ass to find a budget power supply that's good. When I say budget, I mean it's actually a nice power supply. But I mean, comparing to, like, if you wanted an EVGA 1000 watt, you're spending 200 plus. Where, you know, we got this for around, I think, $60 to $70 or $79. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. This brand I've actually been using a while. This is RE Scheme. And for scenarios where I have, you know, where I'm putting the majority of the budget into the CPU and the graphics card, gotta try to save it somewhere. And power supply, this is probably the lowest. Not the lowest, I guess Thermaltake White would be the lowest, but this gives him a great budget option that will meet his budget and also make it so you can upgrade to probably a 3060 Ti, maybe even a 3070 this build if you wanted to, without having to change out the power supply. So, great power supply to start out with. We're just starting out, and it's also got, I think, a 5-year warranty on it. Power supply itself. So, and I've never had to return one yet. So I trust these guys. A good job. Also includes a power supply tester, some zip ties, and your screws to mount the power supply itself, along with the power cord. Everything you would expect out of a power supply is here. I heard, Will, I sent John your way. Oh, nice, man. Thank you. Yeah, John reached out. I think we just, pretty sure we just started to build. Although I'm talking to like 3 different Johns right now. So, pretty sure I know what John you're talking about. Yeah, we're just starting one. We'll be doing, if we're talking about the right John, if he just purchased it, we'll be doing a live stream here probably next week for his build, next weekend, hopefully, if I could get all the parts here in time, which it should be. Enough time. But yeah, I'm super excited for that one too, man. John P, the one who wanted the logo and stuff. Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate the recommendation, sir. My son, he is 14, so this is just for him. We have another computer downstairs that family uses, but this is for his first own PC. Well, this PC is probably the baddest PC a 14-year-old could get, especially for what we got it for, the prices. It's a great PC to start with. I think he's going to be super happy with the performance, because he can literally play any game on this PC he wants. It'll play anything in 1080p. That's what we kind of aim for, is within that budget. Want to be able to do enough on there. We don't want to be limited. Sometimes I just ramble, so just tell me if I'm rambling too much. But no, this is a great PC to start out with. If I'm saying like things about the parts, it's because I'm dealing with so many parts in a day. It's just, there's always going to be a better part, I guess, in the end. So, but this PC is a bad ass, we'll say, PC to start out with, because going to deliver all the performance he wants. It's going to play any game he wants. And it's going to run cool. And it's going to fire up every time. Anytime he pushes that power button, it'll turn on. If you have power. Like in Michigan right now, half of us don't have power. Didn't. Go. Got some of these cables tidied up a little bit here while we're playing around with it. Power supply connection is plugged in. This is the 8-pin EPS connection for the CPU. What powers the CPU up here in this top corner. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get your fat fingers in here like mine. Get this plugged in. But we got it. Alright. Now, get some zip ties on this bad boy because we don't want this piggy tail. I don't know why power companies still use these. Don't want this pigtail floating around. Don't want it flopping around inside the case. Stay put. There we go. Look at clean, huh? Nice and clean. Alright, so CPU connection is going to run this way down like so. And the rest of this is just going to get pulled tight. Snug. Do that right now. Do some cable management. We fire this bad boy up. See if it posts. Most exciting part of every build. Thank you again so much. We really appreciate it. With everything that has went on, this will take our minds off of things. Thank you. No problem. Happy to try to distract the mind. You ever get bored of building? No, I never get bored of building. I was actually going to do a build marathon today, but the schedule kind of went sideways this weekend. So, build marathon, which I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 builds to do, all in one stream, just to see if I could do it in like 3 hours. Does that sound like fun? Can it be done? I don't like how I did that. Hold on, I gotta unplug this, and I don't like how I threaded the needle here. Undo that bad boy. This bad boy goes over the top like that. But I think the only time I get like bored is like during the holiday season. It is just, there's no mercy. It's just build after build after build. That's when it gets to the point where I'm like, I need a break. But then after it's kind of cooled off, and pace has been a good pace right now, so it's been a good pace. I enjoy building PCs, so that's one of the reasons why it's still not like I don't get bored of it, is because I enjoy it. And it's always changing. All the hardware's changing. So it's always exciting when something new comes out and you haven't worked with it before. So There's always ways to keep it interesting. It's hard to get bored of it. I wish I had the money or the credit to get approved for money to build a new one. Oh, nice. Yeah, I get that. My credit personally is not the greatest. I mean, it's enough to buy a house and stuff, but I could do better. Most of the time it's because I forget to pay a credit card bill. Something stupid like that. But recently, my New Year resolution has been just set it to auto and budget everything and just make a separate account for paying bills, and then I send that amount to that account, and I pay one bill to that one account once a month, rather than having to log into every single one. You know, like every credit card, every PTE, my mortgage, everything just goes through one. So it's all automated. That has made life so much easier. It's automated. All I gotta do is make sure that amount of money for the bills are in the account. So that made it easier for me. I'm so busy. I can't keep up. If you have little tasks like that that take time, the best thing you could do is automate it. It takes it off your plate. You don't have to think about it. And you can take your focus and put it somewhere else. But, I mean, personally, when you are buying or using credit for something like a gaming PC, I see a gaming PC as a luxury. So I'm going to go Dave Ramsey on you, and I apologize for this. But the idea of spending credit, which has interest on it, something like a gaming PC, I don't like it. That's why it took me so long. You're spending interest, paying back somebody extra money, more cost than what it actually cost, and it also is technology. So it's not an investment. It's just going to constantly lose value unless it's 2020 again or 2021, where everything just went up in value. Weird. That was because of it being a shortage. So it's not an investment. You're not going to make money on it, and you're not going to make your money back in any way. You're just going to lose money on it. So doing that for something like a luxury item, such as a gaming PC, unless it's like part of your business, streaming wise and whatnot, and that's how you make your money, then that's an investment. And it's a tool that's needed, and it's something you can write off. So, in my opinion, financing a gaming PC isn't the greatest option, unless you absolutely have to. That's the only way you can budgetly afford it. But just keep in mind the interest that it's going to cost you to do that in the long run. That's what I hate about financing anything, including a house. The amount of money that they make off the mortgage is ridiculous. You made that look very clean. Oh yeah, thanks. I do, doesn't matter what build it is, it always gets the clean cable management. Probably not my best work, but clean. Makes sense. Don't have cable flopping around everywhere. Probably gonna have to shove this in the hard drive bay, which I don't normally do. But these are extra cables for the power supply. If you go to add more things to the PC, you have the cables in here. But it's such a tight case. Being a micro ATX case, I had to kind of shove them in here to the hard drive bay. Normally I don't do that. Alright. Put this panel on, check out the cables on the front side, make sure nothing moved. And then spin it around, get the camera shifted over, and let's fire this bad boy up. Shall we? Now, there's not much we could do. Cable. These ones. There. Back in. That one in. That's pretty much the best we're going to be able to do here. Looks pretty clean. Alright, so get this plugged in. Let's fire it up. That toast. All right, guys, you ready for this one? Oops. Looks like we're pulling on a cable. Yes! Ooh, ooh, baby, I love the way. There you go. Just wait for that post, yo. We got the green light. We got the post. We are golden. That's how you build a PC in 1 hour and 15 minutes. With some decent cable management. We even had to do the fans in the case. Let's zoom in on that. Zoom in on that bad boy. Come on, focus, focus. There you go. Look at that. About as clean as you'll get it. We could probably do a little bit better with zip tying this cable up maybe a little bit. But I mean, for the most part, it's pretty clean. It's ready to go. Oh my God, looks amazing. Thank you so much. He loves it. Awesome. I'm glad he loves it. Now we just need to do the software side. So we've got Windows, BIOS update, drivers, XMP profile to set, all that jazz. Does he have a game that he wants me to load up for him? What's his favorite game? I know my camera or my table or something's not level. Like, where'd it go? It's not the PC, it's my table. Let me know if he has a favorite game, because I'll just put that on there for him. So that way, when he fires it up, he can start playing immediately. Have to deal with it. Has to log into his account and go. Call of Duty Warzone. All right. The big one. Warzone 2 or Warzone? Two. Got it. Yeah, it'll be, I actually haven't ran Warzone 2 on a 1660 yet, so it'll be kind of cool to benchmark it, see how it's holding up. I know it'll run it. I've seen other people's benchmarks, but I haven't benchmarked it to see what I could do. So, yeah, I can get Windows loaded up. I'll install Warzone, run a game or two, make sure it's all running golden, and then should have it ready for pickup tomorrow. So just keep a lookout for the email letting you know it's all set, or my phone call or text, or however we're communicating. That's what I use to follow up and let you know it's ready. And I think we're using Facebook on the Facebook page. All right, Windows is underway. Installing. Beautiful rig. Can't beat the price. Honestly. Like, I had those guys over here with the Cyber Power. They paid, I think, like $750 for a Ryzen 3 and a GT 1030. Which is nothing compared to this performance. So, I think we won. Definitely did way better for the price. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it. I'm going to take the rest of this off stream. We're just installing Windows at this time. We're going to be doing the drivers. Going to do a BIOS update, get the Intel XMP set up, profile set for the RAM, then do a couple of tweaks for the fan curves, play around with that, and then load up Call of Duty Warzone, run some tests on that, and a couple of other benchmarks just to make sure it's cooling where it should be, and no thermal throttling's happening on either the card or the CPU. And of course, we're taking a look at the read-writes on the SSD, as well as I like to just run a mem test just to verify, but usually memory problems call out as I'm doing all the rest of that, so it will happen during that time generally. Thank you again. We will be waiting for the call. Yeah, no problem. Happy to do this. Thanks again for reaching out and choosing us. Empower. Hopefully we empowered you. That's our goal. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for chatting and hanging out through the stream. I appreciate all of you. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the next stream. We're looking to do a build marathon next. Hopefully do that, or we might have a couple other builds coming through as well to do on the stream. So have a good night, guys. Just in time for retro gamer time.
you.